Hi, I'm City Manager Jim Drumm, and we're here today at the Glynn-Brunswick E911 Center. We're going to talk about emergency operations, emergency phone calls, and how we respond to law enforcement, and how we're going to talk about emergency operations in the upcoming hurricane season. So I look forward to this show today. Our first guest is Steve Usher, and he's the director of the 911 Center, and glad to be here today.
Thank you.
Happy to have you. One of the first things we usually do for new guests on the show is that we ask them to tell us a little bit about themselves and where they came from.
Okay. Well, I am originally from Columbia, South Carolina. I joined the military, the Air Force, in 1984. I retired in 2004 after 20 years. I've been here at the Glynn-Brunswick 911 Center since September of 2011. Became director in January 2014, and we are a 30-person center, full-time positions, and we're just happy to have you all here so we can kind of share what goes on here, because a lot of people don't really understand what happens on this side of the phone, so we're happy to be able to share that.
That's a really good point. I think sometimes you dial 911, or people know, we teach children in the schools today, dial 911, but nobody really knows what's on the other side of the phone or who's really there.
That's right.
And it's a real person. And
that's right.
We're going to meet some of those folks today.
And a lot of people don't understand that the person they're calling on 911 is not the same person who responds. A lot of times they think that that's the person they're asking, well, why are you asking so many questions? Well, while you're calling, we're dispatching. We've got other folks who are actually doing the dispatching. So we have call takers and we have dispatchers, and our dispatchers, we have computer-aided dispatch, which is on the computer, and they're putting in that to the system, and as they're doing that, even our officers and responders in the field can see that information coming in. So as they're taking that call, they are getting it to our dispatchers, and our dispatchers are giving it to the first responders. So when you're giving us that information, we're going to be asking you a lot of questions. And in those questions, we're getting pertinent information so we can make sure that we paint a picture for our first responders. This is what you should see as you're responding, and this is when you get there, you should see this.
Well, that makes really good sense. I guess when you look at the history of 911, I mean, years ago there was not 911. Everyone called their local law enforcement agency by direct number.
Right.
And it was a national movement to go to the 911 type center. Years ago in Glynn County, we had separate dispatch centers.
Right.
The Brunswick Police dispatched their own officers, Glynn County dispatched their folks, the sheriff, our fire departments each had their own dispatches set up.
That's correct.
And little by little it sort of came together, and we created this joint public safety operation where it's a partnership really between the City of Brunswick, Glynn County, and our Glynn County Sheriff.
Exactly. And actually this is this year marks 50 years. A lot of people think 911's been around forever, but it's only been around 50 years. And in February 16th of this year actually marked 50 years from the first 911 call in Haleyville, Alabama. And that's where the first 911 call went. It started from there, and pretty much 911 is in about 96% of the country. There are still some places that don't have it, but it's been around for 50 years. But you're right, that in around 2002, we joined forces and made it the Joint Public Safety Committee, the Joint Public Safety Oversight. So we brought the City of Brunswick and the County of Glynn together to make one dispatch center, and that was put here. So we've been here since then. Our equipment is the same equipment. We've upgraded since then. And so it's a joint effort, and we're actually looking for more innovation as we're trying to bring along possibly the college to be dispatched out of here. We're looking to possibly have the school system come on board with us. So I like to call it a one-stop shop where we do everything from here, because really it all starts here. None of those folks would get dispatched if it wasn't for this center. So you wouldn't have anybody respond if it wasn't for here. We get the phone calls, you know, what is the score of the football game? Who won the election? Is it going to rain tomorrow? Can you come turn my power on? You know, we're here for that, but we have to direct them in other directions. But it's this center is, now that we're doing this as a joint effort, and the city and the county together, we dispatch for police, fire, and EMS for the city and the county, to include St. Simon's Island. We don't dispatch for Jekyll Island because they're a state park, they're a state island. However, we do mutual aid for them. With the GSP is responsible for Jekyll Island, but if they need mutual aid, they will call us, and their 911 calls come through here, and we transfer them across the street to Georgia State Patrol.
And Georgia State Patrol has their own dispatch still to this point
Georgia State
today.
Patrol has their dispatch, and we work closely with them, and we can call them in a moment, and we can transfer calls, however that works. And so we take quite a few. We average, I would say, probably just calls for service close to 200,000 calls a year.
Wow, that's a lot of calls.
It's a lot of calls that come through here for this population. And you know, when it first started, the center first started, the population was around 70,000. Now it's up to like 84,000. So you can see the numbers have quite changed. The technology's changed. As a matter of fact, we are one of the few counties in the state that can actually do text to 911, meaning that if you have a situation where you can't call 911 because of something going on, you can actually text to 911. And simply by doing that, you just put 911 in your to field, that's all you put in there, and then text your message, and as soon as you hit send, one of our call takers, our communications officers, will start a dialogue with you to see what's going on. So we have that. We started that probably back in around 2015, and we were the second or third county that started that for the state of Georgia.
Great innovation, and it really it's been a lot about that. I think that's part of the idea of communities coming together, cities and counties, and some counties have multiple cities that will join together and close down their local dispatch and join together.
Absolutely.
And as you said, it's getting better every day, not just in Glynn County, but across the state and throughout the country.
That's right.
But now here in Brunswick and Glynn County, I think some people might wonder, well, why did we come here today? It's still partly a city operation, and the fact that the Joint Oversight Committee, I think some people have the opinion that actually the city of Brunswick does not give to the center, and financially we actually are a partner in putting funding into the center as well, our taxpayers.
Absolutely. It's a shared effort between the county and the city. There's a formula that was created when the Oversight Committee was done, and when they decided to merge all of these, there's a formula through the finance offices that decides on what percentages are paid. Sometimes that varies based off of the number of radios, and so that will vary, but it's a shared partnership, and we provide the same amount of service to the city that we do for the county. We have a dedicated city dispatcher, just like we have a dedicated county dispatcher. We dispatch Brunswick Fire when needed. We have a dedicated dispatcher for that, just like we do for the county. So we give the same to the county as we do to the city, that we're a partner here. We don't say one is less than the other. We're all equal, and we're all partners together in this.
Well, and you mentioned the Joint Oversight Committee a little earlier, and I know that's one of the biggest issues you see in communities when you have a joint operation come together. There's always a fear of losing some control or some voice in the operations, and it works really well. We have. I serve on the committee. Our county manager, Alan Hour, serves on the committee. Our police chief in Brunswick, Kevin Jones, the county police chief, John Powell, and we have the two fire chiefs, the county fire chief, Randy Jordan, and the city fire chief, Randy Mobley.
That's right, and we have the sheriff as well.
And the sheriff as well.
So we have 7 on the oversight committee. So I have 7 bosses. So they're great people to work with, yourself, everybody. But it's great to have those voices, because we may think of something that works for 911, but it doesn't work for the first responders, and so we try to find an equal balance there. So we don't tell them how to do the job, we just say this is how we would like to do it, and we try to provide the best that we can based off of what they need. So we are very mindful. Our first priority is the first responders, and we want to make sure that they're safe when they're responding. Our goal is to make sure they all go home safely every night, every day, to their families.
Absolutely, and I agree. And I know that serving on the committee, it's really a group effort working across those city-county lines. And and currently the county fire chief, Randy Jordan, serves as the chair, and I believe Kevin Jones, our police chief for the city, is serving as the vice chair.
Well, yes, sir. Actually, Randy Jordan, the county chief, is the chairman.
Yes.
And the city chief, you're right, is the vice chair. But they work very well together.
Absolutely.
And even though we don't dispatch for the sheriff's department, he's a valuable resource to us, because the sheriff's department is on our radio system, and if we had to work together, we could on the radios. But they're very valuable. We're kind of unique here. A lot of places don't have a sheriff and a county police chief. Right. So it's kind of unique here, not unheard of, but kind of unique. But they all work well together, and it's good to have all their insight. It helps us a lot, so it's good to have their insight.
And all the agencies, and you mentioned earlier the Georgia State Patrol, they actually all have the ability to intercommunicate. I mean, there's certain channels they can get on, they can monitor each other's channels. That's right. I know that we work with the College of Coastal Georgia and their police, as well as the hospital, and even there's connections that we can communicate with FLETC. So if something's happening, a crime and maybe on the road, it's moving across jurisdictional lines, that's something your people really keep track of, and they make sure that the appropriate officers or departments are notified.
That's right. It's all about the interoperability for the officers, so they can talk to each other and the first responders. And we're part of the Southeast Georgia Regional Radio Network, which is a large county-based, several counties, and the master site is in Savannah. and we're tagged into that through microwave and through T1 lines. So we're all part of that. So what that means is they can communicate all the way up I-95, all the way up to almost to South Carolina and almost across there. When they go in, they can still communicate because of that interoperability that we've linked those radios all the way through those counties, all the way up through Chatham, Effingham, up into South Carolina. So it's the technology is just wonderful, and it helps our first responders greatly.
Good. Well, Steve, I want to ask if we could go and maybe you can introduce us to some of the staff that are actually answering these calls, and maybe we can learn a little bit more about the center.
Absolutely. Those are the ones who make it happen, so I'd love to introduce them to you.
Great. Let's go.
Thanks. So this is my operations manager, Kara Richardson. She's over the operation of the floor. You'll hear in the background that this is what we do every day. She'll take you around and kind of show you the different consoles, what they do, and I'll turn it over to Kara.
So Kara, show us around the center and tell us a little bit about how the 911 center works for the City of Brunswick and the county law enforcement and fire operations that we have.
Okay, I'm going to show you our consoles. You can just come with me this way. This is one of our call taker positions. Our disaster position can also serve as a call taker position. Ashley here is our call taker on duty for today, and she takes and processes all 911 and non-emergency calls. However, anybody at any time can answer from any console. It's particularly when we have incidents on the interstate or something like that, accidents, we'll get inundated with phone calls, so anybody from any position can answer. And as you can see, we only have 7 people on the floor, so sometimes those 911 calls can get queued. Okay.
You get multiple calls sometimes, I assume, because like you mentioned an interstate accident, you may get 10, 15 reports of the same call.
We do, and what we have to do in that instance is we have to determine if it's the same call.
That makes sense.
Or if it's something not related. Say sometimes, for instance, there might be people on the other side of the interstate that are looking at this accident, and they in turn get in an accident maybe 2 blocks up the road not paying attention. So we have to determine if there's in fact separate incidents or it's the same thing, and that we have to do that in a relatively quick manner because of the amount of calls that come in. We don't like our calls to go to queue, and unfortunately sometimes that's going to happen.
Right. Now, this is the call taker, so at this point, does it get transferred off to a different?
It does. What happens is she's going to create a call in our computer aided dispatch, which is what we call our CAD, and it sends it to a specific console. It'll go into the non-dispatched window. The appropriate dispatcher will then in turn send whatever assets or apparatuses they need to that particular call for that particular call type. And then they'll actually dispatch them on that call, and then they'll track everything they do from there to include unit comments, any requests for services, anything like that.
What's your first and last name?
Okay.
Okay, so we're on our Brunswick Fire console, and this is Lisa again. Right now she is actually on the line. Apparently she had to answer County Fire's line because County Fire is busy, and that's the great part of the interoperability in here.
That's 228 on
I'll give her just a minute. And Lisa, I know you're a little busy,
Yes.
but this is Lisa. This is Lisa Miller.
Hi there.
This is Mr. Drumm.
Hey, very nice to meet you.
Okay, and if you want to just tell them a little bit about what you do here at this console.
All right, so this is Brunswick Fire. We do call taking, and we also dispatch for the city, which could be either a first responder to help assist with Glenn County EMS, or for fires. So they respond to accidents. A lot of times they can be the first one on the scene because they're so close.
One of our biggest challenges, I think, over here and where we take calls, a lot of citizens, when they call in, they aren't understanding why we're asking the questions they are. So just always understand when you call in and you need our assistance, we're already sending, somebody else is going to be sending what you need while we're gathering the pertinent information for them. So sometimes we might need some descriptions of subjects, the direction of travel. We're doing that to assist law enforcement in either neutralizing a threat, if there is a fire, for instance, to give the firefighters a heads up. If there is exposures near the, if there are exposures near the area where the fire is, such as propane tanks, things of that nature, it's for safety, but also so they know how many apparatuses they should bring, what kind of possible threat that they have, and kind of prepare themselves. So if when you call in 911 or non-emergency, these ladies and gentlemen are asking you questions that are relevant to really basically to resolve the situation that you're calling in about safely. Okay, so this is Victoria, and she's the Glynn County Fire Dispatcher. As you can clearly see, she's handling multiple calls. She's also on the phone right now because we just had an influx of calls that came in. Okay, right now she's asking for a location of a subject. Okay, at the same time she's monitoring her radio. So when they call in, it's going to come over the speakers, and she has to still track all of her units. So
This is definitely multitasking.
it's definitely multitasking, and it's definitely helpful. There you go. There's a perfect example. They're talking to each other, but they could be talking to her. It's definitely helpful to answer the dispatchers or the call takers' questions as expediently as possible. And again, they're doing that to resolve the situation in the quickest, safest manner for everyone.
And sometimes on fire calls, I guess, those calls go on for a while. So
They can.
you may have a longer period of monitoring that's sometimes a short law enforcement call.
Absolutely. And another thing, when we validate a location in our mapping system, we do have to check for flags that house may have. For instance, it might contain a large amount of ammunition. That's the kind of stuff that we should know. Should we send our firefighters to a fire in that area in case there's like bake off of an ammunition cache? So those are the kind of things that we try for. Tularic, I believe, is the name of the business. That would be one that we would want to definitely let them know about. They probably have those in their response plans as well, but we do try to give them a heads up as they're on their way. Okay, and when Victoria gets off the phone here, I was going to have her tell you how long she's been here and a little bit about what she does on Glynn County Fire.
My name is Victoria Lancaster. I've been here for, it'll be 3 years this December. I mainly work fire and EMS, but I am being trained on the different call stations. I wanted to be a dispatcher because my mother-in-law suggested it. She had been a GSP dispatcher and she thoroughly enjoyed it, and she thought I'd be a good fit for it. Right now we've got several units out that are moving about, whether or not they're training or on calls, or we actually have one that's doing an out-of-town transport right now for a patient from the hospital.
And you track all that?
Yes. Yes, I have to. That is my job. I have to know where everybody is at all times and make sure they're okay.
Hi, my name is Deanna Wright. I'm a training officer at the 911 Center. I'm currently instructing a public safety telecommunicators class to make sure that everyone in our staff is certified with public safety telecommunicator.
Hi, I'm Tresca, and I've been a dispatcher for about almost 16 years now. Dispatch police, fire, EMS, and answer 911 lines. We make sure that the officers know as much as possible about what they're going into before they get there, so that they are hopefully safe on all of their calls. We try to make sure that our public is safe, that we get them help as quickly as possible. And today we're going to be working in the Brunswick Police Department console, taking all of their radio traffic, any traffic stops that they get out on, security checks that they do for businesses or houses, and then dispatching them to emergency and priority calls throughout the day.
My name is Addie Moeller, and I'm the training coordinator for Glynn-Brunswick 911. I've been here for 11 years. I'm responsible for maintaining all of our training records and ensuring that everybody maintains their training, gets the certifications that they need for their different career tracks. I'm currently working county PD, so I'm the main dispatcher, so I'm dispatching all emergency calls for police. I also dispatch traffic units at times, and I take traffic stops. Any extra patrols or neighborhood patrols the officers are doing, I log those as well, and basically all activity that the officers are doing throughout the day.
Hi, I'm Leanne Viola. I'm a floor supervisor. I've been here since 2008. I've been a supervisor since I think 2014 or 15. We've had a pretty busy day. My job right now is to listen to all different consoles, make sure everyone's giving out the traffic that they're supposed to. Backup call taker. We've had just a recent incident where somebody was not breathing. It was a choking situation. And so I covered a radio while we gave out CPR instructions to make sure that they got the best treatment possible, the fastest response possible.
Hi, I'm Ashley Brown. I'm a call taker, and I'm also training for City Fire. I take calls from emergency to non-emergency, and today it's pretty much like every other day. We take numerous calls from not so serious to very serious. Today, for example, we had those situations.
Hi, Alec.
Hey, how's it going?
Good to see you.
You too.
So we have today Alec Eaton. He's with Glynn County Emergency Management, and you're an EMA specialist, right?
Yes, sir.
It was just a few months ago we were here with the ice storm.
Ice Storm Grayson.
Ice Storm Grayson. We had Hurricane Irma, and not too long before that was Hurricane Matthew.
That's right.
And so this is the EOC. It looked kind of quiet today.
A little quiet. We've been going through renovations, as you can see. That's why with the boxes. We're doing a new paint job, new carpeting. We're bringing it up to date with our technological aspect. We're getting new projectors, some monitors, so that way we can monitor different news source media outlets, things that are going on during events like disasters, being able to update everybody simultaneously throughout the entire EOC.
Well, I know it worked well for us in the past, but we've really seen a need with the increase of storms that we've had in the last few years, so it's going to be great to be brought up to date. I know everybody's getting ready for the upcoming hurricane season, and we were hoping this is the year, knock on wood, that we don't have another storm. But it also is a year that everybody needs to be prepared. And so there's some information you can give our viewers to learn about what's happening and what we might be looking at in this coming year?
Absolutely. One of our main jobs when EMA is to educate people, get them prepared before any major disaster happens. And being a coastal Lyon County, our #1 threat is going to be hurricanes. So there's a few things that we try to tell people about hurricanes before hurricane season. One of the things that we provide here locally is called our Need a Ride program. For people within our community that don't have access to vehicles, that don't have places to go to a Red Cross shelter, we're partnered with Glynn County Board of Education and the bus system to be able to transport people. But they have to go online at glyncounty.org and register under our EMA page with Need a Ride. Now, people might not have website access, computer access. You can access from your phone, or you can call our customer service line within Glynn County. The other thing that we like to tell people is to have a disaster kit. You can go to FEMA.gov, Ready Disaster. You'll need toiletries, things that you don't think of that you would need on a normal day-to-day basis. You're going to be out on the road, you might be going to a small town that might not have amenities, so you want to make sure that you have those things provided. Deodorants, toilet paper, hair essentials, toothbrush, toothpaste, simple things we take for granted. You want to have enough water to sustain you for 5 days. Now we try to tell people it was enough for 3 days, but seeing that we evacuated for so long, dealing with the disaster and recovery, we've kind of extended that to 5 days. We want to make sure people stay hydrated while they're out there. The other thing, we want to have batteries, flashlights, a NOAA radio, which is great to have so that way you can stay up to date. You want to have a contact list. Now, a lot of people have everything on their cell phones, but when they're out on the road and the batteries die, you don't have a way to charge it. You want to have an emergency contact list of very important people to reach out to that already has their numbers. Because I don't remember phone numbers anymore. I don't think anyone really does these days.
That's true.
Maybe 911 and probably somewhere to the pizza place. The other thing that we want to talk about is evacuation routes. Now on our website, glyncounty.org, we have an evacuation map provided by our GIS that has 4 points of exits out of Glynn County. We're very fortunate to have that, but those 4 points you want to map out early to see what's closest to your area and make a plan ahead. We try to tell people everywhere we go, plan on the sunny days for what the rainy days are going to bring. So it's very important to get with your family members now, make plans for when those stormy days happen and you need to get up and go fast, you already have it in place.
All right, well, very good. I appreciate you talking to us today.
Absolutely. And just to let everyone know, May 19th, we have a prep rally where we're going to have our search and recovery team and a bunch of other sponsors come out to help everyone with their disaster kits and get them storm ready.
And that's going to be at?
May 19th at Mary Ross Park.
Very good. Thanks again.
Yes, sir.
I want to thank you all for giving us a tour today and letting us learn a little bit more about the E911 Center.
Thank you for coming.
Absolutely. We appreciate the time, and we'd love to have anyone come out and visit us. Just call us and let us know.
I guess they know the number, dial 911.
Yeah, that's right.
We learned a lot about emergency communications here in Brunswick and Glynn County today. We also learned about the upcoming hurricane season and things to get ready for. So I hope we had a great show, and we're looking forward to having one next month about our city cemeteries.
Hi, this is Matthew Hill with the Brunswick Downtown Development Authority. According to our most recent Facebook poll, the top 5 businesses in Brunswick are Tipsy McSway's Neighborhood Bar and Grill, Dot and Army, Cloth Napkins made right here in Georgia, Richland Rum, distillers of single estate rum, Victorian Place Antiques, Antiques and Collectibles, and Fox's Pizza. Events coming up in May include First Friday on May 3rd from 5 to 8 p.m. in downtown Brunswick, Rhythm on the River, May 5th from 6 to 8 p.m. at Mary Ross Waterfront Park. This month's performers are Complicated Pants. Bring your chair or blanket, picnic, and your favorite beverage to this free community concert. The Blessing of the Fleet Festival, Friday, May 11th from 4 to 8 p.m. and Saturday, May 12th, 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. This 2-day celebration is one of the best that coastal Georgia has to offer, featuring fun and games for the kids, fabulous food, music, and a variety of arts and crafts. The Blessing of the Fleet takes place at 2 p.m. on Saturday. And finally, Play Readers, May 29th from 6:30 to 7:30 at the Ritz Theater. More than your average book club, discover what makes a play great.